the first songs we did are good, but the songs we are writing even now they're just getting better.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, my name is Fern. I'm the bass player of Deathgrave.
And Fern, how would you describe the music of Deathgrave?
It's typically classified as deathgrind, I guess. It's got some death metal elements, but it's definitely grind. It also has some noise and punk. And, everybody does that with their band. So it's so hard to classify. So it's grindcore.
Mostly fast?
Yeah, mostly fast. There's definitely slow parts. But for the most part, there's a lot of blast beats.
And who came up with the name Deathgrave?
That'd be Greg, our guitar player.
I'm guessing the name was mostly tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, definitely. We had all these stupid ideas rolling around, and then one night Greg just called Andre and was like, "Oh, I got a name," and they both were cracking up. And that was just it. That was just it. That was decided at that moment.
So would you mind telling me a little bit about how Deathgrave got together?
Sure. It started, well, Andre and I were in a previous band called Bird, and that fell apart like bands tend to do. And I was in a situation, well, Greg had been trying to do a band with me for a long time, and I was always kind of standoffish. And then I was without a band, and Greg's like, "Let's do a band." And I was like, "Okay, let's do a band." And we did that. And I was like, "I really want to play with Andre because he's my boy." And so Andre was involved too. And then we found a drummer. We jammed with some people, and then we found a drummer that was willing to practice. And so for Greg, he's playing guitar in a band for the first time. We were trying to do something new that none of us had done before when we started it. So it was kind of awkward, and it took us over a year before we played a show and really found something we all liked.
When you say do something that you guys hadn't done before, do you mean stylistically, or do you mean in terms of playing instruments that you guys weren't that familiar with?
More stylistically. For example, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to play just punk rock, all down pick." I didn't know it was going to turn into a grind band. Andre I guess we were thinking more rudimentary Peni kind of style in terms of the band, but we weren't really sure what was going to happen with us all. Matt had been in a punk band, but he didn't have a lot of experience playing the drums when we first started. So it was like dealing with all of this with this intention to do something that we were excited about, but we weren't exactly sure what that was.
And as far as the style that people associate with Deathgrave, so this death grind style with the strange time signatures and the noise elements and things like that.
Mm.
How long did it take for you guys to arrive at that?
Oh, that's good. I'm glad that you noticed those time signatures.
I believe there's a 9/4 on the first song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a weird time signature guy, so
Oh, that's awesome.
like stuff like that kind of pops.
That's so sick. Yeah, Greg just kind of writes that way. Like he does a lot of the riff writing, and we definitely love that, the weird time signatures that still flow and almost sound like 4/4, like they have the flow of 4/4, but it's super weird and messes with your mind to play. So we were doing that pretty much off the bat, but definitely since this new record, when we got the new drummer, Clint is all about all those proggy drum beats. So we're definitely more embracing of it now.
And I should mention, in case people were wondering, that the Greg that we're talking about is Greg Wilkinson,
Yes.
whose name comes up frequently on this podcast because he's worked in some capacity on a third of the albums, or at least a third of the bands that I've spoken to, as a producer, as an engineer, in some capacity mixing and mastering bands.
Yes, and he would actually be doing this interview, except that he's taking Autopsy right now. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll do it.
and in addition to tracking Autopsy, he's also a member of Autopsy right now as well, right?
Yes, yes. So he just tracked all his bass parts last night, and right now Chris is doing vocals. I can he's actually in the background right now.
Well, send him my regards.
I will.
As far as the music of Deathgrave, you mentioned that writing a lot of these odd time signatures and things like that come naturally to Greg. Is Greg handling most of the songwriting, or do you guys write as a group?
Yeah, he definitely does most of the riff writing, and then Andre and I come in and definitely compose more, like for how long we do things. They're always like, Fern's not going to want to do this for 4 times. She's going to want to do this like 5 times or 3 times. I'm like, yes. Like, so there's like, like the weirder the better. We all come in and like form the song as a whole. But Greg can just pull a riff out of his butt at any moment, and then Clint will start jamming on it, and then all of a sudden there's a song.
Okay. So a lot of the riff writing is done by Greg, but the arranging you guys do as a group?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious about these noise elements. And when I say noise elements, I think you know what I mean. Like there are these discordant riffs that almost sound like, I don't know, like hardcore from the early 80s, or even,
Yeah.
like weird, like avant-garde classical kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where does that influence come from?
I mean, you're talking about probably all those weird guitar parts, right? Mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely, Greg's big influences would be like Butthole Surfers, Wall of Voodoo, Black Flag, in terms of, that weirdo picking and note choice, which is awesome. I love it.
Okay. I mean, sometimes getting a hang of things that are not in a conventional scale or in a conventional time signature can be challenging. Do you guys ever have problems adapting to some of these things?
No, not really. It all just seems to flow together pretty seamlessly.
It's very natural for you guys?
Yeah, if it doesn't, we just throw it out. And that's really rare, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, within the style of what you're doing, I mean, rooted in deathgrind, but going in all these different directions, is there anything you think Deathgrave wouldn't do?
Ooh, wouldn't do. Let's see. We probably wouldn't do a ska riff. What else would we not do? I would probably put my foot down and on a black metal part. Like hell no. I don't know if that makes sense.
How come?
I just I'm not a huge fan of black metal. I like some black metal for sure, but for the most part, I mean, the scene's so problematic, and I'd rather listen to surf music. But of course, some black metal is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not too into it, honestly.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly that wasn't an answer I was expecting.
Yeah. That's for me personally. So don't ascribe that to the whole band, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Clint Zane has joined the band recently
Oh, he joined in 2018.
in 2018. So was that after the first album came out,
Yeah.
or okay,
Yeah. It was after the first album came out.
okay.
And he dramatically improved the band.
In what capacity? In what way?
Well, for me personally, I just enjoy jamming with Clint. It solidifies the rhythm section for me. Like I just like when he plays, I can feel it in my bones, and I get excited. It makes me want to go to practice. It makes me practice on my own. There's just something about the way he plays. Not only just the absolute insane, you know, technique that he has, but just like the feeling he has as well. And also, Clint can do all those weird time signatures. Like, so he opened up a lot of doors for us in terms of that. I mean, he would play prog all day if he could.
It does seem like with this new album, he added some precision to the percussion, to the rhythms.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that boy, you can throw a click track and he's just like, oh, okay, this is cool, and just like blast it. And it's so sick. It's great to track to that steady metronome that's also full of soul, like it's a gift.
The second Deathgrave album is called It's Only Midnight,
Yep.
and it will be released through 10 Crimes on the 14th of April of this year, 2023.
Yes.
When did you guys actually start working on this album?
Ooh, we started working on this album as soon as Clint joined. We started writing right away. And it took a couple songs for us to find our rhythm with Clint, just because it was a new person in the band to find what works to make a sick song. And the first songs we did are good, but the songs we are writing even now they're just getting better, in my opinion.
Did you go into this album wanting to do anything different or wanting to try some new things?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to be a little more grind, a little more aggressive, and a little weirder on the other end in terms of the noise elements. And Andre wanted to go more like impetigo and stuff. So we just kind of jammed in there that way.
Okay. And as far as Andre's contributions, is he? Would you say that he's taking a lot of influence from one genre or another?
Definitely mostly metal, death metal, but some punk too, for sure. Those mids does and the yells, like his musical background is extensive. He's like a walking encyclopedia of music.
I mean, maybe it's the the Autopsy connection, but some of his vocals remind me a little bit of Reifert, except not as Reifert gets very out there sometimes with his phlegminess.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Andre seems to come from like a similar school of like, you know, kind of guttural, not quite a deep growl, not quite a rasp, but somewhere in between.
yeah. He's definitely influenced by Chris. I remember the first time I went to Maryland Death Fest and I was hanging out with Andre and Chris walked by and Andre was like squealed like a little girl and I was like, what the hell? And, yeah, and then like Chris walks by, he's like, hi Andre, and Chris is like, hi. Or Andre's like, hi. And like I guess Andre was pen pals with him when he was like 15. So definitely a big influence. But now that Greg's in Autopsy, Andre's like, I cannot do that. Like I have to.
I mean, I would judge, but about, let's see, 9 hours ago, I was speaking to Shane Embry,
Oh, sick.
who I had pictures of on my wall for like 10 years. So I
Right,
definitely
right. And you,
understand yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes you never lose that fanboyness, even if you're 44 years old.
yeah. And these people are like seminal creatures. They're like forces of nature, and they still are. Like Shane Emery and Chris Reifert, they're amazing. And they're for real. They're good people. I mean, I know Chris is, anyways. I don't know Shane Emery, but I know like they're legit.
Yeah.
Better than some priest.
No, it's funny because like a lot of these guys, and I don't know any of them personally. Like I get to speak to them on this podcast, but they came from a time when, the separation between the fans and the bands was so minute. It was basically all a bunch of teenagers writing letters and trading tapes.
Totally.
Yeah, and so most of them I find are pretty down to earth, and they've all got some great stories from the old days.
Yeah. I mean, there's something that drew people to metal, right? Like it was like, hey, we're aware that we're gonna die and our friends are gonna die and this world's fucked up and like let's get together and have some fun, like with that awareness.
Since we were talking about death, I know that this isn't your department, but do you want to say anything about the lyrics and some of the themes on this album?
Oh, sure. I mean, Andre writes most of the lyrics, and he blew it out of the park on this record. I'm really proud of him in terms of that. But some of them we collaborate on a little bit, and we collaborate on the ideas together. For some of them are band jokes that turn into songs. But he's definitely overall dealing with like like I would almost say addiction, but like, like the 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 gnarliness of existence and like how you deal with it. Also, he writes these lyrics like he imagine like he's like a cartoon character, and he's read so many graphic novels and comics. Like, so a lot of his the lyrics take place in this imaginary neighborhood in his mind. So like he's kind of constructed this overall neighborhood, and with both of our records, where these things are taking place, at the bars or on the streets. And it comes from like stories he hears from his friends or experiences he's personally had. And the artwork kind of like Max kind of incorporated a lot of elements in there with like the city, with these neighborhoods.
So the album cover with like the big spider that's like about to eat the city.
Yeah, it's this what do you say, transdimensional like outer space monster coming in, and this is what we were imagining, and it's like fracturing time and space, and like it's only midnight. It'll be perpetually midnight or not, because time and space are like going away, and so it's definitely an otherworldly element monster coming into this neighborhood.
Okay. So the title "It's Only Midnight" refers to time standing
Yeah,
still, or time coming to a close,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, we turned it into that. It could be so many things. We had so many ideas with it. It started with Andre and my friend were I think they were trying to leave or something, and I was like trying to hang out, and they're like, "It's midnight," and I was like, "It's only midnight." Like that means we got tons of time to party, But kind of started with that, with us laughing about that, and then it turned into whatever it is now.
So let's talk about the recording of the album.
Okay.
I'm assuming getting time booked at Earhammer wasn't a problem.
Cut out again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I made a bad joke, and Zoom decided to ignore me.
Oh, no, sorry, but or maybe but but did you say you assume that getting time at Earhammer was easy to do?
Yes, yes.
It was. Imagine that. It was actually a time during the pandemic.
Oh, you recorded this during the pandemic?
We did. I mean, it's still the pandemic, but yeah, during lockdowns and stuff, we did.
Okay. At what point during the pandemic?
Well, we started it. Oh gosh, I feel like an idiot, but I think we started it in, let's see, it's 2023 now. See, time is fractured. Like the last 3 years are a weird blur. I think we started it 2020, 2021. We started the drums. Greg was tracking at that point because the studio is a little smaller. Everything was so crazy in terms of an airborne virus. So he was tracking at the Great American Music Hall. Our friend was the manager and had him so you could track bands there because the ceilings are really high and it's open. It was much safer. So we went there and Clint tracked his drums there. And it was really cool because Greg got microphones like up on the balcony. And so we can get really big overheads on that. And the drums sound killer. The drums sound really killer on the recordings he did for slower bands because of that space that they got for that for grindcore. I don't know if it was absolutely necessary, but it worked. Then we brought the tracks here, and Greg and I did our parts, and then Andre did his vocals a couple months later.
Okay. As I mentioned, a lot of the bands I speak to have worked with Greg. I'm curious, would you say that Greg's approach in working with his own band or his own bands is different than when he's working with a client?
A little bit. Greg is a genuinely nice, creative guy, and he works with very proficient bands. He definitely has some high standards with our bands. Like our old record, I definitely cried during tracking. It was like because he was do it again. Do it again, just like be perfect. But this record, all of us were so prepared. It was actually really chill. I think it's just different in that he's like emotionally and more invested. So it was really cool when the day he like did all his guitars. it was like so intense because he like practiced and practiced and practiced, and then he tracked, and it was sick. Like his performance was really, really good on that. And then he just like laid in the kitchen, just like, yes, like so relieved. He wouldn't do that with a different band.
I mean, it sounds like the stakes are higher for him for Deathgrave than
Yeah.
maybe somebody coming in.
Yeah, we built this band up from scratch.
Right, right,
So he's definitely invested in it.
right. I'm curious, how would you describe Greg's approach as an engineer? I know a lot of people are very much about capturing the live intensity of a band, or some engineers are just like to hit record and capture whatever happens.
He definitely is into the idea of capturing a specific moment and not overworking things. Like where some bands will come in, it's kind of, it's not common, but they'll come in and then they'll like overthink things and rework things and then change stuff, and then so much that it becomes like a whole, and then they like it takes a long time, and it kind of sometimes loses the magic of whatever that moment was, right? They're trying to perfect it, but take away that thing that happened there at that moment. So he definitely is into capturing a moment, but he's very into like the most important thing is, the musician's performance and capturing that. And so the primary thing is being prepared when you come in. And then, but man, Greg is just really chill. He's fun. He's not never trying to put anyone down or be mean or anything like that. And he's comfortable to work with.
We spoke a little bit about how the sound or the style of the band has evolved over the years, and what
Hmm.
your new drummer Clint has added to the songs. But in terms of production, how do you compare It's Only Midnight to the first album?
I mean, it's a whole new animal for us. Definitely, you can tell it's the same band, but it was like Clint, like I said earlier, is a very proficient and excellent drummer. So tracking to that was great. Like laying all the overdubs was kind of a dream because it's like like it's not rubber banding rhythmically or anything, and that gave us in a way like a lot more freedom. I don't know to explore other avenues with that solid rhythm that's there. What else production wise? We did do a little more bass and drum heavy mix than we normally would have done. Like our first mixes were not as drum and bass heavy. And then like Clint was like most drummers do, he wanted more drums in the mix. So the drums came really forward like a grind record, an old school grind record kind of. And it's really fun to listen to. And of course, I was like, wow, the bass is right up there. I can't complain. But maybe next time, personally, I was like a little more vocals and guitars. But that I don't know. If that's what you're even asking.
Actually, it's interesting. I I speak to a lot of bands. I don't know if I speak to a lot of bassists. The bass occupies a strange place in metal and death metal, especially with the way bands downtune, and then you've also got constant double kick going, and so
Mhm.
a lot of what a bass would do in other types of rock music, in death metal, it's either kind of getting stomped on by the kick drum, or it's getting overshadowed by the guitars. For Deathgrave, what's your approach? What would you say the role of the bass is in Deathgrave's music?
Yeah, it definitely does get stomped a lot, but all of us are really integral to the band in my opinion. So the bass is very integral. And
Sure, sure, sure.
yeah. And I mean, Greg and I are both players. He's like primarily a bass player, so we are a bass player band. Like, is it's about those rhythms and the spaces between the notes as much as it is about like the notes. So I would say the bass is integral, and it's an important element to it.
Okay.
I'm not sure where else to take that. My brain did a little flip.
No, no, no. And I say this as somebody who used to play bass, and it was always a challenge, you know, because you don't want to just double up what the guitars are doing, but at the same time, a
Right.
lot of like, you know, playing one, you know, one note per measure or whatever that the bass does in other types of music doesn't really work for metal, and so you kind of have to find like your own way of making it work.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people in metal play the bass like a guitar. It's just like, okay. I definitely still like I developed this weird thing with this band, like because when we started it, we were intending to be a punk band. So we're, like had that intention, and I was like, I'm just gonna down pick everything. And that was gonna be new for me because at first, like the first 8 years or 10 years, I played with my fingers. And then, like, I was doing regular picking. And then for this, I was like, I'm going to down pick to have that aggressive punk edge. And I still do most of the stuff down picking. So I like the way I play is weird. Like, it's like simple, but not. I don't know how to explain it. And it's just become like the thing for me for this band. And I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
The album will be released by Tan Crimes. Why Tan Crimes?
Greg has worked with Scotty for so long. Like Greg's been on like, I don't know how many releases, Tank Crimes releases, but like 10 or something like that. And when we were shopping out that first record, sent it, like talking about labels and stuff, he sent it to Tank Crimes. I don't think he thought Scotty would bite, but then Scotty got really stoned and like wrote Greg. He's like, "This is hella sick," and like and was willing to put it out. And we're like, "Hell yeah!" And Scotty's like a breeze to work with. I mean, he's a local. He's punk. We've just known him forever. His ethos politically is cool. So yeah, that's why.
So by the time people hear this podcast, It's Only Midnight will be out through Tank Crimes. Fern, how can people order the album? What's the best way to get it?
I'm assuming they can go to the Tank Crimes website and get the pre-order. We can also get digital copies off of our Bandcamp. Just hit Deathgrave and Bandcamp. We have a link on our Instagram, which is Deathgrave408. And we have like link trees with a bunch of links, and they had on there are links for how to get the record.
Do you want to say anything about the vinyl versions that Tank Crimes is putting out?
Oh, yeah, they're beautiful. Gosh, I'm going to pat her back and say those vinyl versions look really good. So there's the ones that are being distributed like to the record stores. Those look tight. They're like smoky. And then there's two other variants, but yeah, I say anyone you pick is going to be fine. They're going to look good, hopefully sound good. They're mastered to go on those turntables, like so they're going to sound good.
Excellent. And I understand you guys have some dates coming up in May.
Yeah, we're doing a record release show actually in April 15th in San Jose at an all ages venue, which is going to be sick. And then we're doing a 9-day or 10-day run with Necrot and Mortiferum in May. Going to go down south into LA, San Diego, Arizona, over down, Colorado, New Mexico, and go on up to Salt Lake City, and we're doing a date in Reno with Mortiferum, and then back to Oakland. And then in July, we're going to do the Pacific Northwest, just us. We'll be going up to Portland and Oregon, or Portland and Washington and Vancouver.
Very cool. And if people want to get all the dates for these upcoming shows, would your Instagram page be the best place to do that?
Probably. That's the place we tend to be the most active. Like, I don't think like most of us don't have very much social media. Like that's what we have. And Andre has zero social media. So that's the place to do it. Or Bandcamp. We try to list the shows on there as well.
Okay. And
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Where's the title Dreams of Consciousness come from?
How dark do you want to get?
Is it like lucid dreaming or be conscious while dreaming, or
Kind of.
dreams of people being conscious?
No, it was a period in my life when the bottom had fallen out on a lot of things, and I felt like I was somebody in a coma dreaming of trying to dream himself awake, basically.
Nice.
But I was also I was also doing a lot of writing, which was very bad Hunter S. Thompson's stream of consciousness kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of put those two things together.
Nice. I mean, I'm sorry you were in that dark spot, but hopefully the dream has become a reality at this point.
What can I say about a life in which, I'm doing Zoom calls with Shane Embury, and I'm getting free death metal albums in my inbox, and the new Cannibal Corpse album is gonna land in my inbox without me having to do anything for it. I could complain about a lot of things, but I can't complain about Dreams of Consciousness. It's been very good to me.
Well, good. I'm glad. There's a lot to complain about in this world.
I mean, what's the line from The Sopranos? I'd complain, but who'd listen?
Well, you had to complain well. critically. People will listen, maybe.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I'll.
Cool. Well, if you see Chad and the Necrot guys, give them my love.
I will. I'll probably see them tonight at the Impaled show.
And pass along my regards to Greg. And anytime he wants to spend 40 minutes of incredibly geeky questions about recording music, tell him I'm here.
He will be down. He'll be down. He wanted to be here, so then you got stuck with me. Sorry.
No. It's always good to talk
But
to a fellow bassist.
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't happen that often on this podcast.
right on, right on. But yeah, he'll be down.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Fern.
Yeah, yeah. Take care.
I'd complain, but who'd listen?